Please rise and join me for the pledge of the flag. We'll begin the evening with celebrating our successes, and first we have Johanna Thomas. Please come forward.
Good evening. I have a student I'd like to have come up with me. Carly, you want to come up? So this is Carly.
Hi.
Carly, you want to tell them what grade you're in?
Second grade.
Here, scoot up here just a little bit. So tonight, I asked, oh, and yeah, come on up, Carrie. You can take a picture wherever you want. So tonight, we are presenting a success story to our Albert Lea Police Department. And after the winter break, we met with Sergeant Charbonneau to talk with he came around, talked to all the principals and wanting to get into the schools and build connections and some positive experiences for the kids. So they started coming to our lunch periods, and they rotated through about 3 times to all the schools. And so it's a really positive experience. I asked Carly to think about, over the weekend, a couple of things about having the police officers in our building, what she liked about it, and why we might want it to continue. So, did you think about that?
Yes.
Yeah. You want to let us know? What did you think about?
I liked it because we got to really know how the police are so nice and kind, and we just had a lot of fun, and it was very fun.
Would you like to see them continue?
Yes,
Yeah?
I would love to.
Okay, yeah. So, and I think that says it all. And we are looking at some things to continue it next year. And so I see that Detective Carlson is with us tonight also, and Sergeant Charbonneau. So I'd like to present this certificate of recognition to them. Actually, I'll have Carly present it to them. Can you guys come up?
This is Sergeant Charbonneau.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
You want to tell a little bit with the board about what you're doing and what the... Sure. Yeah, that'd be great.
So I came up with the idea. It's not an original idea. I know there's a lot of metro agencies that do it, and I've got lots of friends up there that do it. It's a really good way to build connections, especially at a young age. It's a very simple program. We simply go into the schools, we have lunch with them, and we have normal conversations with them. It could be about the job, it could be about how their day is going, what their plans for the summer are. Just a way to build those relationships, show them that we're, just like them behind all of our gear and everything like that. So, I hope that we can continue it in the years to come. And I've heard nothing but positives, both from the students, the staff, as well as our officers. They really enjoyed it. I know a couple guys are apprehensive about it, but they really liked it. So, thank you.
And I almost forgot, Ashley, do you have that? So I'll explain this. So we also, the first or second time that they came, we did what is called a mannequin challenge with the lunchroom. So this is just a short little mannequin challenge, and you can see why it can be challenging. There you go.
Thank you, Johanna, and also thank you to the police department for being there. And I think it's a great program anytime you can get our men in blue that service each and every day with our students and make a connection there. So thank you very much. Next, we have Afton Wackles, and we're celebrating 2 retiring coaches. Roy Nystrom, who was coached my sons, and then Joe Shabluski. So, Afton?
We're good? All right. It is my privilege and my honor to be able to celebrate the successes of 2 recent retired coaches that we've had within our district for many, many decades. First, I will go with Roy Nystrom. Roy Nystrom has been sharing his passion for the game of hockey for the last 51 years. I think that number in itself is just an amazing feat. He has been here in Albert Lea for the last 44 years as our head coach. He has not only been sharing his passion for the game of hockey, but he's been an educator for us. And I think that when we look at our coaches in our district, we really want to see them as educators on the field, on the ice, whatever it may be. So we've just had the amazing honor to be able to have one strong person in that role for 44 years in serving our District 241 students. This is just a small token of our appreciation that we can show. We know that the longevity of coaches nowadays will not live up to these standards. And so it is really important that we show our appreciation for Roy Nystrom, for everything that he has done for our school district. And we know that he may not be on the sideline anymore, but he is definitely going to be one of our #1 supporters for our students in any type of athletic activity that they have. So it is my honor to present Roy Nystrom with this certificate to thank him for his years of dedication and service to District 241. Absolutely, you can.
I'd like to say a few words. First of all, 51 years kind of took its toll on me. I've got a pulled groin muscle right now, and kind of hurts. But you know, I've really enjoyed the 44 years I've been in Albert Lea, not only as the coach of hockey, but also in the classroom. It has been a remarkable experience for me. I think that I'm going to miss the kids. I know I will. I've had numerous kids go through the program. I've got kids that were sons of the fathers that I had when I first came here in 1973. So they all wanted me to stick around and see if I could coach their grandkids, but I don't think that's possible. But again, thank you, and I really appreciate this, and I will certainly cherish it, and it really makes me feel humble. Thank you. Thanks, Doctor. Thank you. Thank you.
I think it's very fitting that both Roy Nystrom and Joe Shabluski are being honored tonight. Joe recently retired as a longtime head coach for our baseball program. He has been sharing his passion for baseball for the past 38 years. The last 27 years, he served as the head coach here in Albert Lea. He sits, I think, ranked 11th in career wins, which puts him, in the Minnesota Coaches Association rankings. He was also inducted into the Baseball Coaching Hall of Fame, same with Roy Nystrom. So again, those type of recognitions of our coaches need to be celebrated. And we are so thankful for the longevity, the consistency that they've provided to our programs. I had the honor of being able to be a student of Joe Shabluski's when I was here too. So again, these two have really paved the way of our current coaches and have been great role models and mentors to not only our current coaches, but I feel like the students and the athletes that they have been able to touch in their many years of service as coaches will lead them on a path, maybe as an educator, maybe as a coach. But again, I want to thank Joe Shabluski for his years of service in our baseball program as an educator with our school district. He also is very present at all of our games still, and he will be continued to support our programs. So it is my privilege to recognize Joe Shabluski for his recent retirement and commitment to District 241.
I really don't like to say much in large crowds like this, but whatever. I really enjoyed being a part of this all for quite a while now, and fortunately we were lucky enough to have Sean Gaston moving to town, and he's got some great credentials, and it was, it was great to see somebody that could take over and keep everything in good shape. So, just thankful for all the work that Afton has been able to do and all the previous athletic directors and all the kids and parents. I know some of you people like Dave over there. I mean, we've been dealing with him all along here for baseball, and it's kind of crazy how, everything just keeps rolling along. Years go by. Thank you for this award, and like Roy said, he's very humbled by it, and thank you again, okay?
Congratulations, and enjoy retirement. Next, we have Dr. Funk.
So Steve and Jeff, why don't you guys both come on up? So one of the things this year, as the superintendent, I have often said that we have got a lot of great things going on in our school district, and we are kind of a hidden gem in southeast Minnesota here, and not everybody knows a lot of the great things we do here. So I challenged our administrative team to really start to get our name out there, and we've been able to do that this spring a bit with a couple different areas. As you're aware, a few weeks ago we were named best place to work in southeast Minnesota, and a week or two after that, I was informed by the Minnesota Association of Secondary School Principals that we have two of the best principals in southeast Minnesota and really in the state of Minnesota working here in Albert Lea. And so we have got Jeff Halverson, who's at Albert Lea High School as our assistant principal. Jeff has been at the high school in one capacity or another since 2013, and he has done a remarkable job with our school schedule, really aligning it to best meet the needs of our students and our staff. And he's one of the main drivers on something called Top 20, and the board is aware of the Top 20. I think we had something last fall on that, or part of the board at least is aware of that, bringing the Top 20 training with Mark Grossklaus to Albert Lea. And so he has made a real positive impact at Albert Lea High School. And then we have Steve Kovach, who is one of our most progressive principals in the school district. If we want a new program to start, Steve is like, okay, let's do it. So we were the first Blue Zone school in, I think, the state of Minnesota at Southwest Middle School through Steve's initiative and his partnerships with Ellen Kerr and Ship and Alice England. And then the other thing, as you're well aware, this is our first year going one-to-one at a school in the district. And again, Steve stepped up and said, you know what, we're ready at Southwest Middle School, let's do it. So based upon the leadership that both of you have exhibited, I am proud to give you these certificates of recognition, not resignation. Sorry, guys. We changed the consent agenda. I didn't say anything. Steve, congratulations.
Thank you, Steve and Jeff. And finally, our last celebrating our success comes down to our two student school board members. They've been very good at attending meetings, giving input, and we sure appreciate having both of you sit at this table with us. And so congratulations on a job well done. And so Kaylee? Okay, now we're to our open forum. Is there anyone that would like to come forward and address the board at this time? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to approval of today's agenda. Okay, the motion's been made. Is there a second? Second. Okay. We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. All those in favor of approving this signify by saying aye. Aye. Pose same sign. Motion carries. Moving on to the consent items. I think you've had everything in your board packet and time to review. Is there action you'd like to take here? Move approval of the entire list. Okay, is there a second to that motion? Okay, motion's been made and seconded. So all those in favor of approving the consent items signify by saying aye. Aye. Pose same sign. Motion carries. Moving on to reports, Dr. Funk.
Real brief tonight on this part of the report, then I'll give you a legislative update a little bit later in the meeting. Just for a reminder for folks that the ALC graduation is at 6 on Thursday in the high school auditorium. High school graduation is 7 on Friday in the gymnasium, and the last day of classes for K-11 students is Tuesday, May 23rd. And that's what I have.
Okay, thank you. Next, student school board members. Let's see, Justine?
Mine is short as well, so everything's just kind of wrapping up. We had our last orchestra concert on Friday, band concert last Monday, and then today is our last choir one. The 8th and 9th grade is at 6, correct? 6:30, and then 10th through 12th will be at 7:45. Yeah, I don't really know. Besides that, just getting ready for graduation. We took AP tests the past couple weeks, and so we're really grateful that's over. And then finals, and then we're done, so.
I have about the same thing, but at the choir concert tonight, they're selling the high school iMag. If you're interested in purchasing that, I'm in it, so. The senior warden scholarship night I thought went really well. That was that 2 weeks ago? A week and a half ago? I don't know, I thought it went pretty well. And then Big Nine Music was that the week after prom? Yep, and the week after prom, that went super well, and I thought our choir did really well. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Next, we have school board member reports, and I think I started on that side last time, so I'll start with you, Neil.
It's been a quiet week in the Score Farm, so I don't have a whole lot to report. It was my happiness to sub for Rebecca, the Trissinger, the orchestra director, and that's always a very rewarding experience. Gives me a lot of optimism about the future of our next generations. Then there was a pretty good article about the Great Outwardly Education Project in the Tribune a couple days ago with Gene Eaton, reporting on some good things that are happening, and that, as most of you know, that's a high priority for me too. So that's it.
I attended the policy committee meeting along with Angie, and it was regarding the wellness policy, which we'll have the second reading of tonight.
Just had the opportunity with yourself and Jim Querum to attend the MSBA Superintendent Evaluation meeting and enjoyed the teacher retirement luncheon there a week or so ago.
I also attended the teacher retirement. It's always fun to listen to where they're headed after they move on from the district. Also, speaking of the Greater Education Project, we've had 2 meetings talking about funding and where we go with that. That's one of our challenges, but we have a group working hard to get the money. Superintendent evaluation also, it was I think as you look forward, you always learn more every time you go to something to learn how to do things better, and so that was good. And then we had a meeting with the LEA, our monthly meeting, so. Speaking of that, we'll move on. And so we'll have our teacher report. Al?
I have three things. First, we did meet, and then we also met with admin and some school board members to look into health insurance options, and we're that's still working. We're working on that. There's been some frustration with late placements for next year, but I've been talking with Mike and Jim on that. And then lastly, everybody here knows about Wind Down Wednesdays? Okay, that's kicking up again pretty soon. You know, there are still some slots open if anybody wants to do some reading. You know, they give books away, they do activities. It's a pretty fun thing. And I know that you guys have done it before, and so if you want to sign up for that, I don't know if when those go out, do you guys get those emails on that or not?
We can have Mary Jo let Ashley know and then get onto the board
Okay.
when that happens, because I think she's on it.
All right, and that's it.
Thank you, Al. Moving on to curriculum instruction, legislative update, Dr. Funk.
Did you get that slide? Okay. And then we were able to pass it out for board members. I had a meeting in Rochester last Thursday. We had representatives from MSBA, MREA, MASA, C. So pretty much every major education lobbying group in the state was there to give us a overview of what's happening at the legislature right now. And I like the handout that MREA gave, and that's what you have in front of you. And so what I'd like to do is just kind of go through it so you have an idea of where things are at as we currently sit. The governor over the weekend, or maybe it was on Friday, vetoed the bill that came out of the conference report, which is in the far right side of that of your form that you have in front of you there. You can see how far apart the two groups are. The governor's education target is $708 million. The conference committee's target is $303 million. So pretty significant as far as that amount. The governor's plan is 2% and 2% on the formula. The report that came out of conference committee that was approved by the House and the Senate was 1.5 and 1.5. So there's some pretty significant difference there. You can see the governor wants to expand voluntary pre-K by $175 million. The House and Senate have eliminated voluntary pre-K, but fortunately for Albert Lea, they're holding districts harmless who are currently funded for voluntary pre-K. So what they're going to do is they're going to shift that to school readiness dollars. So we will be able to provide some sort of early childhood education with school readiness dollars if that's what passes the if that's what the governor eventually signs into law. So that was that does provide us some flexibility. Our concern was that they were going to try to fund pathways or which are much more difficult to get scholarships by. But putting it in school readiness, it provides some opportunities for the district. So I don't know where that's going to end up, but that's currently where that is at. And again, we are fortunate now because we received funding last year and we were aggressive and went after it. We're one of the few districts in the state that's going to be receiving this money if that's the way it is moving forward. One thing that we have not talked about at the board level yet is the TRA fix. They are projecting the Teachers Retirement Association, they want them at, I think, 100% funded by like 2038 or 2044. And to do that, they're going to have to increase the contribution of either the districts or the employees. And so the governor has a plan to help districts, because they're looking at, for right now, the initial plan recommended by TRA was for districts to increase their contribution by 1%. Well, as you can see, they were going to increase it by 1%, but neither the House nor the Senate or the conference committee has any money to fund that. So in essence, what we're looking at as a school district is they're looking at right now a 1.5% increase on the formula And oh, by the way, you're going to have to pay for TRA, which is a percent that we are not going to give you. So you're going to have to take that out of Hyde. So we are really moving backwards if they do not provide us some incentive to, or some funding for the TRA fix. The governor recognizes this, and that's where he's got $68 million to help fund that. Now, there is some discussion at the legislature of, well, maybe we need to make the employees pay for part of it instead of just the district paying. So the pension committee is looking at different options right now, and that one is not, it's still a moving target. Pupil transportation, not a big impact for us. You've heard us talk, I think, previously about the special education cross-subsidy. That's the amount of money that comes out of the general fund to pay for special education locally, rather than what we're supposed to be funded for special education from. And so the governor's trying to help that out a little bit by giving $40 million. It's not a lot, but that is some. You can see operating referendum equalization. Nothing's going to happen with that, it appears. Compensatory, I just received a phone call about at 4 o'clock from Brad Lundell. It's linked to the formula again, so that's a good thing. So that means when the formula goes up, compensatory aid goes up. But the best thing for the district, at least at this point, is that the conference committee has funded the compensatory pilot. They're making it permanent at 100%. So that's about $470,000 for the district that we didn't know if we were going to receive or not. Still not in the governor's budget, but if it has passed both the House and the Senate at 100%. So that's a real positive for us if that remains. ACT, so a few years ago they said we want every junior in the state of Minnesota to take the ACT or have it available to them, and we will pay for it. Well, the governor says we still want to do that, and the state still should pay for it. Now the House and the Senate have said, no, only free and reduced students will get to do it for free. And then they're saying, you don't have to do it on a school day anymore, you can do it on a weekend. But you still have to make it available to everybody, and the only money you're gonna get reimbursed as a school district is for kids who are free and reduced. If you want to turn it over, the next one is for teachers who are teaching college education classes, like college in the schools courses. All of our teachers are already credentialed in Albert Lea who teach at this level, so it's not a big deal to us, but it is a big deal someplace else in the state. You can see there's some teacher loan forgiveness in there. Oh, I missed the miscellaneous. Over on the right-hand side, you can see the conference committee bill has the 5 e-learning days in it. And then they have, I always find it interesting how they create a bill that they strongly encourage people to do something in a bill. They don't mandate it, but they're strongly encouraging students and not proficient in 3rd grade should have a personal learning plan. And they have a few other things in the miscellaneous there. And then you can see, you go down to debt service equalization. Basically, if we have a bond or a debt, it's equalizing the amount that people owe on it. And I think the impact in Albert Lea is around $90,000 back to the taxpayers. So not a huge deal. The elections language is significant. Basically, it's got to put information on how much this is going to cost per pupil or cost overall. It makes it, people who are looking at it say, by putting a big number on there, it's going to make it much more difficult to pass. I don't know enough about that yet. I can get some more information on that, but I was told on Thursday that this is a major concern by getting specific dollar amounts rather than, increase your. We got the tax charts that people can see how much it's going to be. Well, this will be how much money that I think the district is going to raise, and so they think it's going to have a negative impact on things getting passed. And then you can see broadband. We're in pretty good shape broadband-wise, and the governor's got a significant amount of dollars, and the conference committee's got about 1/4 of that amount. So those are the major issues that that we've been seeing at the legislature, and so from talking to folks, the talk I have been hearing, I continue to hear the talk on Thursdays. I think they're going to settle at 2 and 2. But then I think a lot of people were not aware of the whole TRA fix because that was in a different committee. It wasn't an education committee, it was in a pension committee. And so there's a concern that if they give money to fix TRA, they're going to have to take it from somewhere, and they may take it from the 2 and 2. So that's what I know regarding the legislature. Questions or thoughts or comments from anybody on this stuff?
Yeah, I have a couple questions. Once again, thank you. I was telling Mark that I hope Funk goes over this because you do a good job. So just double checking, making sure I'm understanding. Sometimes I just have to hear things a couple times. So that for the early learning, it sounds, I mean, of course, this might not happen, but it's sounding like with the proposal in the conference that the voluntary pre-K will go away, but we will still get the money because they're going to replace it with something else because we were already in, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then, what else do I have questions on? Can you explain a little bit the egg to school thing? Is that like the farmers?
Yeah, I missed that, thank you.
Okay.
So basically, one of the big problems that districts like Albert Lee have that have a big ag tax base is when we go to build something, taxes are done differently than if you were passing an operating levy. So if we were to build a new school or an addition or something like that, you were taxed on all the land you own, and it makes it very difficult to pass something. Because a lot of people say that, well, I'm being unfairly burdened by this. But if we were to go to ask the taxpayers for a operating levy to increase because we don't have enough money to run the school district, everybody's taxed the same. It's on a house on 1 acre. So there's an inequity there. And so the egg to school piece is to try and address some of that that inequity that farmers have. And I don't have what the tax impact is for our district, but it's moving in the right direction so that the farmers are not paying as much of a burden on all the land that they own as everybody else. So that answers it.
Any other questions or comments?
I can't remember the last budget. What was the final target amount? Wasn't it like 600 million?
So yes, it was.
Wow. And then for the TRA, the money that's in the TRA now, so it's currently short funded, or it's going to be?
What they do is they project it out to a certain point based upon longevity, condition of the fund, investments, and it is projected. It's currently not funded. Current annuitants are fine, but it's going to run out of money, or not run out of money. It's going to be at, I don't know what the percent is, 60-some%. It's going to continue to go down by 2038 if we don't do something. The other thing that they're doing that I didn't mention is, I think for years, and Lori or Al or one of you might have some information on this, correct me, but I think for years they had a assumption that the fund was going to make 8% a year, 8 or 8.5%. And now they are reducing that assumption, I think, to 7 or 7.5%. So 7.5%? So if it's not going to be making as much money moving forward, or that's their assumption, and we want to be at 100% by, I think it's 2044 at this point, we are going to have to do something to help the fund out. And so the other piece of this, which I didn't mention, is they're looking at capping at 1% the annual increase for folks who are annuitants in the fund right now. So they're going to cap that. They're going to make the retirement age 67, I believe, and then they are going to try to, the plan was to cap it, go to 7.5% on their assumption, make the retirement age 67, and increase the district contribution by 1%. And the pushback in the committee is, well, the districts should not have to do this on their own. We need to have the employees do it as well. So one of the proposals that they're looking at is to increase it by 0.75 for the employees. So it would go up 0.185% next year for the next 4 years, so that their increase is 0.75.
And that money, that the TRA funds are invested by whom? Who controls the funding decisions?
She doesn't, but she's going to tell you who does.
Well, I'm on the PRA Board of Trustees, and so it is a similar type of arrangement. And so the school board, State Board of Investments actually invests the money for both TRA, PERA, and MSRS. And so usually those three pension plans analyze things in a kind of a similar fashion. So the assumption update of the 7.5% return is what all three, I believe all three pension boards updated that to be, you know, just updating based on what's realistically happening. And does that answer the question?
My question is, how realistic is 7.5%? Well, I think we all know what historic returns have been, not only in the stock market, but fixed income markets, and I just don't. 8.5 was something that insurance companies got into trouble years ago. 7.5 is still way above what most of them use at about a 3% guarantee now. So that's why I'm wondering, since you're on the board, I was gonna ask you that later, but I caught you now.
You know, certainly they use projections and averages, and so SBI is that's what they were recommending, and so that's what PRA took that 7.5%.
That's the investment, SBI is who does the
The
investments?
State Board of
That's what-
Investments.
Yeah, that's what I thought, okay.
Yep.
Any other questions or comments?
Well, how are the other two pension plans doing compared to TRA?
Well, I can speak to PERA, and basically about 5 or 6 years ago, I know TRA and PERA at that point in time, maybe MSRS as well, made some adjustments on such things as employer contribution, employee contribution, and COLA, that's cost of living adjustment. That's what Dr. Funk mentioned. COLA means for those retirees, what is their annual increase of their pension that they get to live on, basically. And back 5, 6 years ago, for example, PERA took a little bit stronger stance on some things that were adjusted. For example, PERA cut their COLA down to 1%, where TRA has had a higher COLA. And so that is one reason that you see TRA bringing a proposal now to improve their pension outlook, where PERA is not, because we took a harder cut about 5, 6 years ago. And so PERA is we're still researching it, and it very well may be that we bring a proposal through the legislative committee first, but to the legislature maybe in a year for some tweaks. Does that help?
Lori, one other unfair question, because I know you might know. Do you have any idea what our TRA, what percentage of our investments now are setting in real estate investment trusts, things like that? Because, I mean, that's the only thing that's going to drive this up over the historical averages when you're talking stocks, bonds, and other type of investments.
And you're right, I don't have that off the top of my head.
I know that's been, different states have had that problem. The teacher retirement plans, Texas was a big one where they lost a lot of money in the over the years, and I just wondered if you could see that, I'd be interested.
Okay, I'll check into that.
I have a handout from a conference I was at, I was looking at. I can send to the board as well, that gives at least what the proposal was for TRA. I don't know what's going to happen with the pension committee, but that might give you a little bit better insight into the situation, too.
Can I add a couple things? I'm on our Ed Minnesota Pension Committee. I've been to quite a few meetings, and I've learned a lot. When you go into these, a lot of people have the misconception that when they work on the TRA and the pension, that there's going to be a fix. There's never a fix. It's always an ongoing, you monitor and adjust. Sometimes one of the big problems that we're having, it's not really a problem, is that we have people, we're second in the nation for longevity of life. And so our people are living a lot longer, and so they're paying out more. That's one of the but it's not really a problem, I guess, but but that's one of the situations they have to deal with. But the thing that really stuck with me is that it's on that pension committee that the legislative have, half of them are brand new. And so it's hard to educate them because they think, did we fix this 3 years ago? Well, it's not a fix. You have to continually look at it because some years they make a lot of money, some years they don't, with their stocks and that. And so it's just an interesting thing, and I'm learning, and I'll be able to talk to Laurie about this now.
Okay, thank you very much. Moving on to item number 11, a policy review on safe and healthy schools. Mr. Querom.
So this is a second reading for the wellness policy. We went over it in detail the last time that the board met on this, and so this is the second time around. So I guess this would be the time if there's any questions or any clarification needed related to the wellness policy. We talk about that before we get to the third reading, or we take it back and find out information for you.
Okay, this is the second reading. Any comments or questions? Okay, thank you. Next, we have adjournment. Would someone please make that motion? Is there a second to that motion? Second. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.